Okay, so I'm here with Didi, and I don't want to mispronounce your name. Could you please help us out
Of course.
with the pronunciation?
Yeah, it's in Didi Okpareke.
Okay.
But
Um,
Didi.
Didi's
Yes.
great. I'm going to go with that. I don't want to offend you with your name, but
Yeah.
you know what? I learned about you a few months ago, and I was super impressed with your background. The fact that you had the courage to go against Stansberry, you know, who everybody who knows me and follows me, I can't stand her for many reasons, for logical reasons. But she's an amazing candidate. She's an amazing person, and the little bit I know about her, I'm like, obviously she needs to be running for office. She needs to be in charge of a lot of
Thank
cool
you.
stuff. And you already are, right? Because you own a
Thank
pharmacy,
you.
right?
I do. I own a pharmacy in Rio Rancho. This is the 9th year. So.
And it's a unique pharmacy too, right? Because you
Yes.
guys do like compound and stuff like that,
Yes,
right?
yeah. So all we do is compound medication. I had been a pharmacist for almost 10 years before
Okay.
I opened the pharmacy. And quite frankly, I was just kind of fed up with the industry, seeing the same people month after month. Everyone was still sick. No one was getting better. So I decided to open my own compounding pharmacy and really help people to optimize their health and their wellness.
That's so fascinating
Yeah.
to me because I'm in the medical industry. I have a little bit of an understanding of the pharmacy world,
Yeah.
but like that's a huge transition. So did you work? You worked at a
Yes.
pharmacy for a while, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, so most of my background was in hospital. I
Okay.
did a little bit of retail,
Okay.
but you know, not any experience in compounding, right? So I just kind of jumped in and really had to figure out the business side because I had been a pharmacist for almost 10 years, but really the business of practicing compounding pharmacy was
Yes.
new to me. I'm very thankful that I succeeded at it and we're still going.
And how long you been doing it again?
For 9 years.
For 9 years.
Yes.
Okay, so you're a very seasoned businesswoman.
Yes.
And then you came here from California. When did you get here to New Mexico?
Ooh, that was back in 97, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was when
long time ago.
Albuquerque, New Mexico was in its heyday. The mid 90s was great for Albuquerque.
Yes.
It was a different world back then.
Yes, it was.
You know, so you
It
saw
was.
the transition then.
I did. I've seen it. And even in the most recent years, like Albuquerque does not look the same at all.
No.
You know, and it's so unfortunate that we have to, you know, put ourselves through these challenges just from simply making the wrong decisions about what's happening in our society.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like a joke. It's almost nostalgic now. You come to
Yeah.
Albuquerque and you see like the crazy person on the corner. It's like
Yeah.
you're just so used to it, and it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
The mid 90s and the 90s and early 2000s, this was like a really, you know, you can see the future here. It was like this is going to be an amazing place, and it just kind of
Right.
tanked over
Yeah,
the years
it did.
with poor leadership and all that stuff going on. I mean, so. You being here since '97, what do you want to see change? What do you want to do? What's your day one plan should you get into Congress when you win Congress?
Yeah. I mean, people always ask, you know, why would you jump into this race? Why would you declare candidacy for U.S. Congress? Why do you want to represent the 1st Congressional District of New Mexico? And quite frankly, as a mom, you know, I am deeply concerned about the future of my children. You see people come here and they get a great education at some of our phenomenal institutions like the University of New Mexico, but unfortunately, they take everything that they've learned, they pack it up and they leave the state, right? We can't afford that anymore. We need to invest in our community and develop as much as possible. My children, I wouldn't want them to leave. You know, we have an amazing home here. There are so many opportunities for our kids, but we need to make sure that they're secure, right? So economic development. We need to make sure that healthcare is where it is. As a healthcare provider for almost 20 years, I think that that's super important. Some of the ways that we need to fix healthcare, obviously we need to tackle the rural communities, make sure that they have access to affordable healthcare. But then here in the city, who is on our plan? You know, who is on our healthcare plan here in New Mexico, or do they deserve to have access to it? If not, we need to figure out how to cut that so that we cut waste, we cut abuse of the system, and we prioritize New Mexicans that really need the help.
And I think it's so important that you bring up that medical part because I'm in the medical industry as well. I've been doing medical business for quite some time now, and you don't really understand the problems and the issues with it unless you're in the business of it, unless you deal with
Right.
it firsthand. And once you're in it, you see right away what the issues are.
Right.
Like for instance, you know, we've got so many people on Medicaid now. We've got a stagnant population. That's a big common topic now as well. So for the economy, what's one of the things that you want to do first in your district? Is there a project that you want to tackle first? Is there something that irks at your mind that you want to jump onto?
Yeah, I think healthcare is really the biggest thing. You know, right now we have a representative who, quite frankly, never talks about healthcare.
No, she doesn't.
And it's the biggest crisis that we face here in New Mexico. Like you said, with about 42% of our population reliant upon a system, Medicaid system, that was really created to be like a help, right? A system that helps people kind of get off their feet and get going. Not a system that you would just have to be dependent upon for, a certain amount of time. I really do think that it's going to take tackling drug costs. It's going to take making sure that we have the financial resources for the rural communities. And then again, we have to look at how much is healthcare even costing us? Do we have enough players in the system, right? So when we attract, let's say, big companies or big companies to bring in jobs to New Mexico, those companies are coming with their individual insurance companies, right? And then you create more of a market that is not monopolized, and you don't have the single payer system. You have a multi-payer system. You have a lot of people contributing to the pot. That competition is what's going to drive down the cost of healthcare. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Fabulous answer. You're obviously running for Congress and have well thought out plan, because that's what it takes right there.
Yeah.
There's this single payer style where everybody's footing the bill.
Right.
We have so many people dependent on the system, and it's like, what are we going to do? Because these doctors can't afford to hang around here serving all these patients, not getting paid out because they don't pay.
Right.
You can bill them, they might pay 70%.
Right.
And so most of the time they don't.
Right. Exactly.
So we got to incentivize them. We've got to get more people covered with private insurance, and we got to get people off dependency with the system here.
Right.
We got everybody on food stamps, everybody on Medicaid.
Right.
And nobody wants to stay here. I hear that so often as a parent as well, and friends that have kids. It's like, man, all these kids do is leave. As soon as they graduate, they bounce out. There's good schools here though. UNM's a good school. NMSU's a good school. We get these kids like properly educated, like yourself here, and myself. But most of my friends have all gone. That I grew up with and went to college with, they left right away.
But the truth is, it's hard to stay here, right? So like
super hard.
Even as a business owner, I look at the amount of taxes that I pay, payroll taxes, GRT. I mean, it's insane, And then the property taxes, because I just finished building a commercial real estate property, and you get that tax bill and you're like, you know what, shut the whole thing down, I'm done.
Yeah.
But you can't, because you love your community so much, you've invested so much, and people trust you. People come to you because you've helped them. So it's not so hard just to pack up and leave, because you've invested so much and people need you there. But then it's like, New Mexico, how can you help me to stay here? So we definitely need a change, a drastic change.
I love that. We have so much in common when it comes to that, because it's like, look, I had the opportunity to leave, but I do love it here. I have my family here. This is who I am. I love the weather. I love the people. But it has been tough to stick around. I had to open my own business. I got my own business, and then you pay all these taxes. And I know a lot of people have a hard time understanding what it is to pay GRT tax. It's brutal. When you're paying, GRT on an invoice that could have been your mortgage payment, or could have been a couple of car payments, and that's just a regular occurrence.
Or you could hire how many more people for the payroll taxes that you pay? I could probably employ like 5 more people, turn them into technicians, flip that, get them into pharmacy school. They now become professionals. They reinvest in their communities, and the cycle continues.
That's right.
But instead, we have to submit those payments to the state, and then who knows where that money goes, right? Like, where's the accountability on where the money that I pay? Where's the accountability for it?
Well, it's not going anywhere good, because look at the education here. Look at the roads are destroyed. The crime isn't getting fixed anytime soon right now. I mean, you see some slight improvement, but it always seems to be like a swing. It's never really like a permanent fix.
Exactly.
And then so if you don't own a business, I know it's hard to understand. We're talking about GRT. This might be like a gibberish to you, but when you go and pay a car, you're paying that tax.
Yep.
You're basically paying a down payment just to buy the car.
Right.
And getting rid of that GRT tax, that's more of a local stuff. I don't think the congressional candidates or people in Congress can really deal with that.
That's a state issue.
But it's nice to know that you understand that as a person, as someone who lives in New Mexico, because we all deal with it, whether you're a business owner or you're someone, like I said, just trying to buy a car. That's a lot of money.
Right.
And it hits home.
And even on medical services, even in pharmacy, you come and you buy supplements from me, you're paying taxes on it. It shouldn't be that way.
No. And the better states, the more thriving states, like look at Texas. They don't have a GRT tax.
Right.
They don't have as many
personal income tax.
Personal income tax. So it's like, why don't we ever look at the states that are doing better, that are thriving, and try to mimic those models? It's like we always try to reinvent the wheel, and we have this like pompous attitude, like, well, our way is going to be better, yet we fail over and over and over again.
Over again. Yep, you're right.
Okay, so the one thing I always wanted to talk to you about is your opponent.
Yes.
and I know you're such a sweet person, and you're a hard worker, and you're proud of that. You've achieved so much as a New Mexican, as an American, and you're not into that per se. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. What I don't want to get into throwing her under the bus. But what do you think that she's doing right now that you would not necessarily criticize her on, but that you would change right away when you get in office?
Right away, I think one thing that New Mexico needs to be aware of is there is a system that incentivizes poverty, and I think that she just fits right into that system, and we keep buying it. We have to find a way to end her term. Who knows what she did when she served in state Congress? Someone has to go back and look at the bills that she voted yes and no on, and how that impacts us today. But if you've done anything wrong for New Mexicans, how in the world did you get promoted to U.S. Congress?
Right.
You don't deserve a promotion. So I've decided to step up to the plate and challenge her on that. And I really do plan on taking a real deep dive into who she is as a representative. Quite frankly, we may not even have to dig that deep because all of us can see that she's not doing a good job. If she was, Albuquerque wouldn't look the way that it looks. All of the 10 counties inside of CD1, we would all have our needs met. Maybe not, to maximum 100% capacity, but at least these needs would be addressed on a fair playing field.
Yeah, I mean, I rarely, if ever, see her hanging out with constituents, walking around the neighborhoods. And that's something I would like to maybe do with you one of these days and just kind of talk to the people and see what their needs are, see what their wants are. Because I think that's a common trend with the Democrat side is they really, they stick to their own people and they really only want to fix issues that, to their donors, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, I did invest some time in doing that, though.
Okay, what'd you come up with?
Like going down to Lincoln County and seeing the damage of the floods and the fires, going to Torrance County, being on one of the commissioners' farms, the pumpkin patch. I mean, all of these things, you have to take the time to go and meet the people that you're going to serve. They're the ones who put you there. They pay taxes for you to be there. And so you have to make sure that you are meeting their needs and you're truly representing their voice. You're speaking for them.
Right, and I see a huge opportunity for you there. I know you're going to keep that up. I want to keep supporting you when you're doing that because, like, for her, she spends a lot of time just hating on Trump. And it's like, I know he's not perfect. I know he's got issues, but it's like, look, you've got a job to do. New Mexico is in dire straits right now. There's got to be a better way for her to focus her time helping us out here in New Mexico. This is an amazing state. I'm very proud to be from here. I know it has like potential to be one of the best states in the country. We have the 5th most resources of any other state in this country. We don't ever get to tap into them. We never even talk about them at that level. So aside from your opponent, what are your plans as a future business owner here in New Mexico? Are you gonna expand your business out? Do you plan on staying here long term? What's your future plans here?
That's a good question. I always say that what best defines a leader is what happens when you're no longer in the position that you're in. And so what happens is when you're in a leadership role, you really have the power and the opportunity to empower as many people as possible. It's not really about you. It's not about your own personal clout or, being boastful or having this persona that you're bigger than life. It's about how many lives have you actually touched and inspired to do greater than even what you've done. And so I've taken that very serious as a pharmacist, as a business owner. I've helped pharmacies and pharmacists all across the nation open compounding pharmacies and thrive, from Houston to Illinois, California, DC. They come here to New Mexico. I train them. I show them the ropes and they go home and they do big things. Now, unfortunately, I face greater issues than they face. So I see them go back to states like Texas and make 10 times what I make. But that's okay. That's
so you're
okay.
Tempted. You're tempted to maybe not leave, but at least start branching out and expanding out there.
But then, really, like I said, it's not about me. I'm just very grateful to even have the opportunity to help someone else understand the ropes of compounding. But that's really I'm gonna transfer that energy into my role as a congresswoman. It's not necessarily about me. It's the people that I'm serving, and it's about the younger leaders that are looking up to me and hopefully one day aspire to serve in Congress as well.
Well, I'll tell you right now, just talking to you, because I'd never hung out with her before. We scheduled this out a while ago, but we've never talked. We just met, and it's like, right away I can tell she's a very sincere person. She's a hardworking person, and so it's like, what it takes to get to that level is you got to go through a lot of stuff, guys. That's just what it is. Like, I've been through a significant amount of trauma, and I'm not trying to, make a sob story, but that's just how you develop character. And I can tell that she has been through it. And so I kind of want to delve into that more. Like, what in your life do you think? Really, where do you feel like you were drugged through the mud? Where do you think you really developed that character? Because you have it. You have that energy and that drive to help the community and to serve. Where do you think you got that from?
Honestly, I think my parents came here from West Africa, from Nigeria. My father was a soldier in the war, in the Biafra War, which is probably one of the most brutal wars at that time. Both of my parents, they survived. They came to America and they made it. And I always tell people, like, I am my parents' American dream. But recently, what I went through as a business owner was I had an acre of land that I worked very hard to purchase. And the dream was to build my own commercial real estate and move my pharmacy into this new building. And so I had the land, holding on to the land. When it came time for me to draw on the funding that I secured, that funder said you don't have access to the funds. So I was at risk for losing that piece of land.
Losing it all.
Yeah, and I decided to fight. Like, you ain't taking my land from me,
Yeah. No.
I decided to fight, and I went head to head. I said, I'm the president of my company. I want to talk to the president of your company. I don't care how much money you have. We're going to sit down and talk and figure this out. And this is a big financial institution.
When was this?
This was around 2002.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. A while ago.
I'm sorry, 2022.
2022.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
All right. So about 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And this was a huge financial institution, like as big as Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
Intimidating.
Huge.
They're intimidating.
Yeah, and I didn't care. I was like, I worked really hard for this, and this is what I'm going to leave for my children, and this is where other pharmacists are going to come and understand, business and entrepreneurship, and that was something that I just couldn't let go. The legacy was too big to let go. And I fought and I won that fight, and so that kind of made me understand, like, if you're gonna do something like this, you need to have grit, you need to have tenacity, your spirit needs to be hungry, and beside that, you do need the power of God.
Right.
None of this happens without God. So
yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big faith person. I'm a very religious person.
yeah.
I do pray a lot, and you just have all the qualities that they really come after.
Mhm.
They really attack people like you and
Yeah.
like me, who are just sincerely trying to do the right thing for humanity, for God,
Mhm.
and they don't like that.
Yeah.
Because rarely do people get into power
Mhm.
these days that have
Mhm.
that same mentality. But we see it.
Right.
We see it.
We
The
see
people.
it.
You see people in Congress. We see people in other positions of power that have the same mentality that she does and that I aspire to.
Mhm.
They do good things for the
Yes,
community.
they do.
It is possible to get good leaders in
Yeah.
office, and that's why I have so much faith in you, and I want to help you as much as I can.
Mhm.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me.
Of course.
And then so let's go back to your father, because I find that story very compelling.
Yeah.
And your mother. How old was he when he came to America? He was in the war on over there fighting.
Yes.
And they were able to they were like refugees and they came over here?
No. So actually, my father, he was the equivalent of a Delta, like
Special forces.
Yeah, special forces, and
So he was athletic.
He was only like 15, 16.
Damn.
15, 16.
Okay.
Basically a child soldier, but he was a warrior. He got shot the first time
Wow.
in his head, and I remember
Wow.
he used to tell us a story when he was young that he found himself in the jungle and he was shot and he was going in and out of consciousness, and he just remembered losing a lot of blood, and a little dog came from nowhere
Wow.
and kept barking at him and
What?
led him out of the jungle. And that's how
Talk
he
about
got
God.
to safety. I know. Led him to safety. And then the second time he got shot, that's when he finally surrendered and didn't go back to the war front. But my mom, her experience is a little bit different. She wasn't captured or anything, but she just remembers like cities falling and getting closer and closer to the city that she was in. And eventually the city fell, and they had to surrender. But the war ended in 1970. My parents didn't come to America until the 80s.
Okay, that's cool.
And they came separately. They didn't know each other. They met.
But they were
here.
from the same area.
They're from the same area.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So my dad came here. He started his life. He, I think he went from like Wisconsin or somewhere ridiculously cold, and him, coming from a tropical country.
Yeah. No.
He's like, oh, I can't stay here.
Not having that. Yeah.
So he ended up in California. He became a private pilot. He got his commercial license. He went through a plane crash. He almost died. Survived the plane crash.
Wow.
But he's flying from like Oakland to San Francisco. Like no one does that. Just drive across the bridge.
Wow.
But he survived that. My mom, she first did some kind of computer stuff back in the day when Apple was coming out and all that stuff. And then she turned her career into a nurse. And so my mom retired as a nurse from the VA hospital. My dad retired as a satellite engineer from Lockheed Martin.
Wow. So you come from a very resilient bloodline, it sounds like there.
Fighters.
And yeah, fighters for sure.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that I believe in that. I think we bring the spirit on from our parents, mostly from your mother, by the way, genetically. You bring more of your,
Yeah.
you bring more of your mom's and your grandmother's genetics over with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a beautiful story. And is your dad still with us?
Yeah, he is.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
He's with you in Las Cruces.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Lockheed. Yeah.
yeah.
My
He's
my
down
father works for NASA too down there, so
Yeah,
he's
cool.
I got some experience with the government contracts. I
That's
did too. I worked for NASA for a while too.
Nice.
But,
nice.
wow,
Are you an engineer?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
was an MP in the Air Force. I was actually stationed
Nice.
here in Curl. I joined the
Wow.
military to get away and travel the world,
Right.
and they stationed me in Albuquerque. So I spent some time in Albuquerque here. I was stationed
Yeah.
here for about a year,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
got orders to Italy, and I spent a couple years in Italy and stuff.
that's
But I was in law enforcement for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got into entrepreneurship, and that being an entrepreneur it's a special thing. It's a hard thing,
Yeah.
and it's not for everybody. And I really have a lot of respect for people who are in business who run for office, because I think that's like, it's probably one of the better pedigrees to get into politics. Because look at what you went through. You fought for that land. You had to innovate. You've had to lead people. And you only get to eat what you kill. Right. Like if you're not a good business person,
you're gonna be hungry.
You're gonna be hungry. Yeah. So you have the perfect pedigree for what you're doing, and I pray for you and I wish you the best.
Thank you. But then also knowing that in this country, entrepreneurship is really the backbone, one of the foundational principles that makes America great.
Yeah.
So if you don't have business leaders and entrepreneurs in positions of service, then there's like no connection between who is in office and the community. Right? We really need to reestablish that connection. Like right now, our representative, she has no clue. She has no clue what an entrepreneur goes through on a daily basis, right? Like how we make payroll, how we pay our bills, no clue. Like you're talking about oil and gas, pharmaceutical industry is all oil and gas,
Yeah.
You're talking about pharmaceutical industry. If you don't know it, you don't know healthcare. You don't know how medications are priced. I know, I do it every single day, So yeah, I mean, everything is kind of intertwined on itself. Everything develops on itself. And in order to have a robust, comprehensive system, you need a leader that is willing to take the time to understand all these intersections and how things kind of work together.
Yeah, and on that same note, what I really like about being an entrepreneur and being involved in politics is I have the freedom to say what I want for the most part. I'm not beholden to some government job or being a bureaucrat. I'm not trying to take anything away from other people. That you got to make your money, and you can't be out there on social media, blasting certain things or whatever. So I'm happy to represent people, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, definitely.
But with your opponent, she doesn't have that same spirit of freedom.
Right.
She's been beholden to whoever's cutting her checks or wherever she was working for. So that's where I think you have the biggest leg up on her spiritually. Is that you've had the freedom. You don't have to do this. Right. You can just keep kicking ass at your job and your business.
Totally.
And,
But I even told my team when I signed up to do this, we came together, we had many meetings, and I said the last thing I would ever do is sell my soul. That's what I want to wake up every day with a smile on my face. I want my kids to be able to say, that's my mom, and this is what she did, and this is why she did it. And I want the people to say, you know what, Didi's all right. I never want to go to bed thinking, man, I just sold these people out, or I just hurt this community, or like, I don't want that. And I've already been approached in some certain situations, and I'm like, nope, I'm not getting into that, And it's early. People could say you're so young in the game. You have to find a way. Oh no, I'll find a way. God will make a way. It's going to be all right.
And I love that authentic dialogue that you had with yourself getting involved with politics. Like, I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to do the right thing. And that's, I'm voting for you. Got my vote, because that's the decision I had to make when I got involved in politics. Like, I'm getting into this. I'm not getting into it for money. I'm not getting into it for fame. I'm getting in it because we need help. We need to take care of these children. We need to take care of our people. I ain't gonna sell out. And so that right there makes me really want you to win even more.
Thank you.
Because we need that. We need that, because so many people we see, even doesn't matter what side of the party. They go in there and they're just a totally different person once they get in there. And as an entrepreneur, you're self-sufficient. You got your own business. They can't buy. You can't sell out. You can't. They can't buy you.
No.
It's not about the money. You look at your.
Already been bought though.
How so?
Jesus
by
on the
Jesus
cross.
Christ. That's right.
I already been bought, so I'm not even for sale. But honestly, I think what it's gonna take is, it doesn't matter what your affiliation is. Really, you have to look at New Mexico, look at this district, and say, is this really how it's supposed to look? Be honest with yourself. Like, don't buy into all of the rhetoric that you hear. Be very honest with yourself. Homelessness, and they call them unhoused. No, it's homeless. Is that how it's supposed to look? Are you okay with needles being all over your sidewalks and in your children's parks? Like, if we're honest, we could all come to the table and be like, you know what? Okay, I'm game. Let's fix it. That's it. That's it. When you get into all the political rhetoric, then you start kind of getting lost. Don't do that to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with our community, so we can start to be the change that we need to see.
Yeah, that's such an important point, because it's almost like they've normalized it, especially here in Albuquerque. It's like, oh, it's just an unhoused person, and it's just like you're changing the names and making it seem like, they're rewarding them. They're rewarding that victimhood mentality, and us just being Republicans, and we're like, we're going to say the word homelessness. It's not because we're callous. It's because we actually sincerely want to,
Address it.
address
Call it what
reality
it
for what it,
is.
and
Yep.
help them sincerely. There's
Yeah.
real tangible ways that are effective in helping people with addiction, with substance abuse,
Exactly.
getting them on the right track so they can get job skills.
Right.
We've seen that, but for whatever reason, they don't want to do that here.
Right.
It's almost like they want to keep them there to exploit them. I mean,
Right.
and that's a whole other topic, but I'm so glad that you said that, because let's just be real with ourselves.
Yeah.
You drive around Albuquerque, and we know we can do better.
Yep.
It's just common sense. It's reason. Like, we can do better as human beings, as children of God. We can put our heads together and try to help these people in a real way,
Yep.
not cover with a Band-Aid and just give them a bunch of freebies, right?
Exactly.
So wonderful talking with you.
Yeah.
I can pick your brain all day and everything. Is there anything
I'll
else?
always be here. I'll always be here.
Yeah,
So,
we
just
can keep the
reach out.
conversation going as the
Yeah.
campaign comes along.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to say to the people of New Mexico? Because I got followers all over the state,
Yeah.
and they're going to want to hear from you. Anything you want to say, please?
I mean, the first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you for choosing this medium to reach the people. I really do think that this has a positive rolling effect. People hear you, they'll share your videos, they'll share the information, but we need the right information getting to the right people. And the right people, those are the people in our community. They're our neighbors, our friends, our neighbors' children. Like, we need people to know the truth, and that's what I stand for. Again, my name is Didi, and Didi Okpareke is my full name, but I'm running for Congress. I want to represent CD1 in DC, and I really want to take our voice to DC so that we can make sure that we set ourselves on the right path and we never divert from that again. I've been a pharmacist for almost 20 years. You can trust me with your health care. I've done it in the city of Rio Rancho. I've done it all throughout New Mexico, and quite frankly, I've done it all throughout the United States with many licenses. But besides that, what I want you to understand, if you are a constituent in CD1, I don't care what party you are affiliated with, independent, DTS, Democrat, Republican, it's time to put New Mexico on the map. And I'm asking you to join forces with me so that we can do it together. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take dedication, perseverance. We're going to have to be convicted in our souls, but it's definitely possible. So please come to the table, meet me at any one of my events, but definitely follow the campaign. Donate if you can. If you can't donate, please say a prayer. We'll take that too. That's probably more important than anything else. But just wish New Mexico well. And if you do, you'll do the right thing.
The power of prayer is huge. Please send her out some prayers. Didi for Congress, CD1. She's an amazing person. She's even better in person than she is on camera. So I encourage you guys to reach out to her, donate. At running for office, it's very stressful, and financial resources are so important. So we get the message out, guys. She's obviously not trying to get rich. She's already doing good. She needs the money so she can run for office and win, and she can represent us. So yeah, just thank you guys for checking us out, and support Didi. We'll be back with some more candidates in the near future, and I'll be interviewing her again throughout the campaign trail.
Definitely.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank you.
God bless.
Yes, God bless you.